Welcome back, everyone. At the top of the show, we discussed teams that could possibly slow down the unstoppable run Dakun Gaming are currently on. And one of the teams that we thought could do it was Rolster Y. So, why is that, Araki? We're having a little trouble hearing Araki. So, Kangas, why don't you step in his steed? Why do you think Rolster Y is a team that can step on in?
I'll do my best to explain what I know Araki and I were talking about ahead of time and trying to do him some justice right here. Rolster, as I'm hearing him come back in, one of the best teams at drafting on the red side, right, Araki?
Yeah, I do think they're one of the more intelligent teams to draft, and the way they're going to have to approach this matchup can go a few different ways. They can focus Huiba in the jungle. They can focus on the Rakan for Salim, their own support, who popped off on it yesterday, as well as they can just focus on the mid lane matchup. Isaac also had big pop-off moments on the Zed where he was carrying late game, he was making plays early game, so definitely some options. I think namely, I wouldn't mind see them just ban out the carry junglers that do exist in the meta, and those being the Riven, the Graves, the Fiora, as well as the Jax. And if Huiba doesn't get any one of those in particular, then at that point he's forced to play a more traditional style jungler where he has to facilitate his team rather than just hard carry late game.
Gotcha. So what you're trying to say is if you ban out the champ pool of Huiba, you're trying to mute him a little bit and transfer it somewhere else. You see what I did there?
Yeah. But the problem is, if you did the math, I was counting in my head, and Iraqi's actually listed 4 champions that you need to ban. You only get 3 in Wild Rift. So I'm actually going to push back against that. I don't know if it's going to be possible to get Huiba off of something he can carry on. I mean, outside of that, we also know Huiba can play the Lee Sin. So, like, there's probably 5 carry champions that are in Huiba's pool right now. Realistically, I'm looking at Yo. I'm looking at the mid lane saying, get Yo off of the Twisted Fates, off of the Gallios, because this is the player that's oftentimes enabling Huiba to go for these big carry performances. Huiba's going to get ahead, regardless of what you do. So I'm actually looking at it from takeaway. I believe Smacks even said this on the Analyst Desk yesterday. Take away the champions that facilitate him rather than trying to shut down his champ pool. Because I just don't know realistically if you're going to get him off of something he's comfortable on.
Araki?
So for the record, I know I counted 4, but there are ways to do that, especially if you're on the blue side, because Riven might get automatically banned. You do have Rattel in the top lane, and if you get that for yourself, that would be a threat as well. So some of the champions are going to automatically get removed. So you just got to focus on the other pocket picks like the Graves and the Jax. And if they somehow manage to deny all 4 rather than just outright ban, that's when the strategy that I was talking about can come in.
All right. Well, you know, that first game we had, I think, surprise banger. This one, certified banger. We already know it's going to be the undefeateds going head-to-head. So prediction time. You first, Kangas. Who you got?
All right. I'm going to go. It's going to be close, but I still have Dakun taking this one 2-1. I think they will drop their first game. Well, the winner of this is first in this group, by the way. They're taking first seed, but I do still think it's Dakun taking it.
Araki?
I am going to make it a little spicy. This might come around to bite me, but I am going to go with KT 2-1 against DKG. If there's a team that's going to take down DKG, it's going to be KT Rolster Y.
All right, that is a spicy pick. Analysts separating pretty early on. Now, I do have a little bit of advice to give to Rolster. If you win today, maybe don't have the shortest member of your team take the victory selfie.
Oh, no.
You see it here, Luna trying to... struggling. That's the only time you're ever going to see him with the phone in his hand struggle.
Hey, he's doing his best. He's doing his best. I want to actually see how the selfie turned out, because I feel like that's going to be the final judgment on if it worked or not.
It's going to be all 4 guys' heads and his hair. That's exactly how it would go. All right, time to send it on over to our casters. And so I got to ask, who would take the selfie between both of y'all?
Honestly, Deacon, that's actually quite an easy question, because it might not be obvious, but TJ is quite tall, and I am camera tall. Let's put it that way. I'm movie tall. I'm Tom Cruise tall, baby.
First of all, that's very tall. Tom Cruise, an incredibly tall person.
That's true. On film, he's a giant.
As long as he's standing on a box.
Not that tall, I guess, then.
It's slightly off frame. The other thing is, Pastry, that's not the only factor, because you've got, like, the winning smile, whereas I'm quite a dour human being. So I don't know, maybe you holding the camera and like framing it around you is the way to go here.
Well, you just like point it to the ceiling,
yeah,
like to the ground. It's like, this is my mood.
Well, you don't want me centered, because I'm just going to be, you know, frowning, bringing the energy down.
I guess if I get a box, I can take the selfie. All right, you know what? We
There are
got the technology.
You
Yeah.
gotta build, you gotta complete your item build so that you can deliver on your dreams.
All right, well, the dreams of both these teams for that first place here in the group are still on the line here as we kick things off in this draft. Rolster are going to start it off banning out the Jax, which shouldn't be a particular surprise given Hueba's proficiency on that champion. Whereas Dakun Gaming going to kick Senna out of this game.
So, this, I mean, we've talked about it, Clash of the Titans. Where do we want the key picks to go, the priority to go in this draft for these two teams? Over on Rolster, it's one of their solo laners. We'll figure out which, but usually either Rattel or Isaac who gets the carry. Over on DKG, we know it's Hueba. He's going to want to get one of those key carries. We talk about that being Jax, Graves, Fiora, maybe a Rengar, Kha'Zix. The pool gets really squeezed. Kind of interesting. Rolster do not attempt to squeeze that pool beyond the Jax, and instead they prioritize getting those carries onto their solo laners. There's the Fiora in Rattel's hands.
Yeah, had the Riven Bands, have Fiora now, so probably happy with this setup. Fiora definitely a champion that is starting to get through a little bit more, but still present in every game, whether picked or banned, or almost every game. She might have slipped through one, but we'll call that an outlier here, as it looks like Twisted Fate to start things off. Because you know what? If Hueba's going to have to get off to the races, Twisted Fate's a nice way to enable that.
Yeah, Hueba needs support. He's the kind of player that gets a ton of support from the rest of his team. So far this makes sense, because you have the Twisted Fate. This is going to boost ahead whichever teammate you want to get gold, and you have the Camille, which is a solid lane answer to the Fiora. I expect this is going to be a Graves in the jungle for DKG, so I'm interested to see if Rolster either try to steal that away, or maybe do something more interesting around countering it by grabbing something like this Lee Sin that can get into the Graves' jungle during the early game and threaten him. Because so much of this, I think, is what does it look like when Hueba gets bullied? We've never really seen that yet, and I do think Rolster have the capacity to do that, to take him down a peg.
Is there any credence at all to something like Camille jungle? Obviously, Camille's like one of the strong Baron laners, but could already be Hueba's pick as well if they do need flexibility. Saw this coming a mile away, by the way. Luna's selfie game, maybe not that great, but his Corki is so good.
Yeah, and you'll also see it maybe pass to Isaac if necessary. So there's a lot of flexibility there, but this does give a secondary late game carry over to Rolster. So if DKG pull out the Graves jungle, there is a late game answer now for Rolster in that Corki. And I do want to go back to what you were talking about with the Camille. Yes, Camille is played jungle quite often in Wild Rift. I expect this to be top lane just because it has a good matchup into Fiora, and I do expect that the priority here is on containing that Fiora. DKG saving final pick for Hueba, so they maybe have something wild here that they're trying to pull out. As instead we're going to get this Lucian. Lucian, probably the most powerful AD carry right now. I think the most powerful in the pool. Certainly very strong into something like a Corki for the early and mid game, because the mobility allows you to kind of dodge in and out. If this Corki is AD carry and we go Lee Sin, Alistair for Yasuo, Isaac, I'm gonna have a great time.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a great match if that's where we end up.
That sounds excellent. Let's see what happens here, though. Corki Ali, maybe a little passive as a 2v2. That's certainly good in the mid to late. But last pick is Diana. Okay.
Not bad, a little more supportive. One of the advantages of the Diana is it's just really hard to get bullied in lane. Diana has the self-shielding to basically survive any amount of early pressure, so something you want if you're into a Twisted Fate, a Camille that love to get out on the map. Both those characters very high mobility on the map and can arrive in your lane at unexpected times. And what do we have here for DKG? It's the Kha'Zix.
It's Kha'Zix day today.
Yeah, Kha'Zix at the bottom of the list I referenced earlier, but he does offer a very specific advantage over many of the other scaling junglers that you'll see over the Graves, for instance. And that is that he can get past the front line, and he can really be the little cockroach on the back lines. And against something like a Corki, that's very effective. The Corki wants to have space to just run around and throw out auto attacks, and Camille Kha'Zix is going to make that all but impossible in these team fights.
Yeah, feels like a bad time to be Luna this game. Going to be using the Valkyrie, using the package very proactively. But if you can't survive, Luna's Corki is the best I've seen in Horizon Cup so far. He's extremely good on this champion. And his team also plays well around packages, right? This is definitely a team that just gets to objectives at the right time. They're a team play together. Their 5v5 is excellent. They are just a really cohesive unit is kind of my biggest takeaway with Rolster, which against a team like DKG, who have shown both individual prowess and good team fight and good late game, gonna be a close one. Gonna be a fun one here to open it up.
Yeah, and we've got kind of two ways this game goes. First of all is the solo carry route. Both these teams have solo carriers. They're very obviously going to be playing two that could just take over the game. For DKG, that is Weber, playing this Kha'Zix who could get fed to the point that he can one-shot anyone, and if that game state happens, our video game is done. Other side, same story for Rattel on the Fiora. Rattel's Fiora has done it before, can get so big there's no counterplay. If neither of that happens, and frankly this is the more likely game state simply because of how good both these teams are, they will put the brakes on anything that starts running away with the game. So if neither of that happens, we're going to go to late game team fights. And between Rolster and DKG, I do not know who has the better team fight, but I will say it depends entirely for me on the bottom lane duos.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when you kind of, start crossing out carries on the top side that maybe neutralize each other, you look down at the supportive elements that they've drafted in that top side as well. You start to look down at the bottom side. You look at Luna's Corki. How good can he be? We're the Kha'Zix, we're the Camille, we're the Twisted Fate, breathing down his neck every team fight. And how good can Win be, who has been excellent all tournament long? Takun yet to drop a game so far this tournament. If they're going to, though, it does seem like it will be in this series.
Yeah. I mean, this is it. Both teams undefeated to this point. Obviously, that cannot continue for Takun. They are delivering on the expectation. As far back as during the SEA Championship, teams were telling me, hey, this Takun Gaming, the team that qualified out of the Open qualifier in China, they're the team to beat. And here they've delivered on that twofold. Rolster, it's a little different. Korea, of course, got handed some big L's the last time they played Chinese teams. We had that WCK versus WPL event, the Chinese and Korean leagues playing each other. Rolster was the only team that got a win. That was versus the WPL, the franchise league, of which, of course, Takun Gaming is not a member. So even then, when Rolster were getting kind of knocked around by the WPL teams, Takun Gaming were allegedly better than that.
And they've certainly shown that here so far in Horizon Cup, as Rattel is getting it aggressive nice and early here up against YK. Isaac also apparently just putting his face straight into Twisted Fate, wanting to be get some prio here in the 1v1.
But on the other side of that, Rolster have improved so much since the end of the WCK. They were far and away the best team of the WCK. They finished the finals 4-0. They won, I think, the quarters, which was really versus the second place team, G-Luck. Were very strong regionally. They won that match 4-1. That was the only game they dropped over the entire playoff series in the WCK. So Rolster, the best Korea have to offer, and they've been in the boot camp behind him, and you can see him.
So far, nice and deliberate, let's say, but I think we are expecting a bit of a slow pace of play here between these two teams.
Especially for Rolster, one of the biggest weaknesses of the Korean region, Rolster in particular, is they struggle to end games. Their team, in typical Korean fashion, likes to play things out.
Is this just all we have today? Is it just Lee Sin going top lane at 2 minutes every single game? It's just Kha'Zix and Lee Sin top all the time?
Oh, it's getting followed up on this time. Yo, Rose all the way up here.
Very nice here out of the TF. But who is just going to back it up?
I've got a number for you, Maestro.
I'm ready.
What do you think the average game time for Rolster is this tournament?
This tournament?
This tournament.
18 minutes.
Higher.
What? How is it higher?
20 minutes!
20 minutes?
48 seconds!
That is almost 21! That's way too many minutes!
It is! It really is! Especially because Rolster win a lot of their games pretty quickly, but then they just don't end them. They just bathe in them for a bit. It's like a hot tub. You gotta sit in and enjoy it.
That's Luna. He's on the clock because I'm still scared of don't win the game just yet. I gotta pad the numbers. We'll check the DPMs at the end of the tournament. We'll see if they're massively skewed.
Yeah, farming the stats. Gotta make your trading card look as good as possible.
Well, we're so far feeling happy here in the 2v2, as I think expected. Lucian Braum getting a bit more leverage there in that particular matchup.
top lane, which was the focus early for Rolster as they do try and boost Rattel ahead. That's one of their primary drivers this game. Not much happened despite all that effort. YK down some gold. It's come out to about 200 after the wave did get shoved in against his turret. But they obviously find the kill and was well protected by Young.
All right, well, for all the back and forth and kind of slowness of this, I can guarantee some fun in 30 seconds. I can't guarantee a team fight, but the teams are going to be looking for those objectives that are spawning in about 20 now.
I'll hold you to that. This better be fun.
They're going to do something. They might not fight each other. I didn't promise that.
Here's the thing. Rolster are only ever going to go for a Rift Herald. That's like their thing. And I think Darkun might be okay trading that. Because their big spike is in the mid-game. You're waiting on second item for Yo. And so, when your power spike is that close, I think the last thing you want to do is go for a full-on team fight. But they have warded it. Ward inside that Rift Herald pin here for DKG. That indicates they would like to skirmish around it at the very least.
Of note as well, Quaver is a master PvE player as Isaac is just assassinated.
Flash gold card!
Here comes Yo. One last auto. Was enough. Does get the kill there, at least trades back.
And Emo can now roam up here with Weba and contest this Rift Herald. Yo is running back to this fight as fast as his little feet can carry him.
Rattel getting aggressive. Oh goodness, Salem just kicks out Weber. Wants to try and make sure the Herald goes down. Alistar low, but there's the assassination. Rattel! He's trying to take out Weber, but now he's got 1, 2, 3. He flashed out of there. He is going to go down. Will it force the flash out of Win, but he's still trying to make it happen. Does indeed go down, but Luna's going to get a kill on the back end of it all. As Rolster, I think, come out on top there.
What an incredible team fight for Rolster. They get the Rift Herald in the midst of a positive traded team fight, and they are going to get the charge instantly spent. This is going to take the mid turret 5 minutes into game.
That is a big win here for Rolster, up about 1,500 gold and counting as they'll reset and maybe think about running back for this dragon.
It was so much fun, Julian.
It was a lot of fun. I didn't lie to you. There you go.
Not used to this. People keeping their promises. DKG now going to try and make something out of this kind of pause in the tempo. You see them set up for control around this Ocean Drake. But here's the wild thing. They do not feel comfortable to fight for it. They are slowing down the game at this point. And that is not a position DKG have been in all tournament.
Here comes the challenge. Rocket Cat already at the ready, win tagged and bagged. Zoe's going to take him out.
Great execution by Rolster, knowing the speed of their engage there, knowing they can just pull up and support Luna. And we're at this point, I kind of teased this. Rattel is going to try and get as big as humanly possible, but in team fights, pay attention to where Luna is. Make sure Luna is kept alive. Salem's going to be the primary person responsible for that, but you also have so much CC on this team from Isaac and Doe that should be used defensively, because Luna, with 4 assists, with Essence Reaver already complete, is going to be a very big Corki, and he must be kept alive if Rolster are going to win these team fights.
So far, so good. There for Luna. As I mentioned it already, Rocket Cow with the moon pants, Salem zipping on it.
What?
It's got protocol. Rocket Cow. And those are moon pants. You don't know? Moon shorts? Both
Putting it together. Right.
Yeah.
I would appreciate it if you said moon trousers.
All right, we'll catch that next time. But I mean, you know, that is the go button, very much so, as Isaac has found himself in a spot of bother. Emo hiding in the shrubbery is going to force him away and get the flash.
His pants go under trousers.
Ah, that is true.
Underwear, pants. Pressure up top here as Rolster really want to boost Rattel ahead. Again, that's their perceived condition.
E3 going to be okay. You're just going to deflect them there with the red card. That's good enough.
Holds up the red card. They got to get out of there before they're disqualified.
Ooh, Luna gonna meet Quaver. Ooh, Quaver gonna get himself caught out there. Salem with a nice little combo. Q's gonna land there.
Wow.
Flash him back. Nice kick, as that's the kill for the cow.
Nicely done, Salem. Getting a win for support players everywhere. And it'll be a turret picked up. A whole lot of that gold going into Rattel's pocket. This is really the perfect start to a game for Rolster. All the gold going where they need it.
All right, let's watch this again in the Axe replay. It's Quaver just caught in his own jungle.
Weber chased out there, and Doe sits on the resonating strike, knowing there's the mobility on the Kha'Zix. Not afraid to get in behind that turret and scoop him out.
You know what? For all the good that Salem is doing for his fellow support players out there on the Rift, definitely, as you mentioned, the important thing is Rattel got gold. Got the tower there, opening up the map a little bit more. 2,000 gold ahead now for Rolster Y.
And quiet marker here, just because he's not usually a carry for this team. But Doe is sitting around 8,000 gold, the most on the map by a pretty wide margin, as he's just had incredible kill participation so far. Only missed out on 1 kill on the map. He's been everywhere he needs to be. It's been an incredible game for the Rolster jungler, who is normally more utility focused, but you're on the Lee Sin, understanding the assignment, getting out on the map early, boosting his lanes ahead, and as a byproduct, becoming a pretty scary Kung Fu man.
Good so far. DKG grouping here in mid. Emo is going to push out Doe. As the Rift Trail's been started, DKG looking like they want to respond.
Where you get in here is gold card. Yo needs to find onto ideally Luna.
Weaver walked up, Glacial Fissure onto 4. Salem though pretty tanky, back in we go. 3-man pole, everybody piles in. And now Rattel on the top side is fighting off Weber, but the fight is won on the other side by Rolster. And Doe is just going to go for it. He just gets that free kill.
2 kills to Doe as he cleans up the second one. Rift Herald did get stolen by Weber as he arrived in the backside of that fight and just assassinated poor Rattel. Watch this though, I flagged the gold card as being very important. This gold card did not result in DKG's fight win, and I'll show you instantly why. Boom onto Salem. Salem doesn't care. Heats the full color, goes in the opposite side, and the team fight's over. Headbutt pole runs. Ideally, that gold card finds value by allowing you to press forward and take out a carry with it if they're sitting in stun. Then the supports need to play defense, but instead it goes on to the support. The support soaks the damage, especially in Alistar mid-ult, and by the time the threat has ended, he still has full cooldown. He's sitting, waiting for his controls to come back online. Second they do, easy combo.
Goes at it again. Oh, what a Q, not going to follow though. But again, the Dragon is back up and Rolster Y already ready to fight.
The Honey Fruit ate the auto for the ward. That ward's still alive for DKG as a result.
Betrayed by the delicious fruit, as Dragon is going to be there. There's no contest here for DKG.
Drake does go over to Rolster despite the Honey Fruit taking an auto for the ward. And DKG, yeah, they can't contest at this point. Kind of their only path into these games, mid-game team fights.
Isaac, stun.
There it is.
That's big damage. Dodo coming back in, and they're going to try and get the kill. Camille almost dead after the ultimatum. And Weber's diving back in to try and get the respits. The Kha'Zix can't do anything. There's the stun out of Salem. No follow-up, though.
And look at Luna just living his best life, floating
yeah.
along.
Just chilling.
He's bopping.
Chilling in that close.
And there's nothing you can do if you're trying to access him, and all of that soak is just being eaten up by Salem, eaten up by Rattel and Doe, who are playing such good defense. I will say you saw the opposite angle of that. What happens when Doe lands a gold card onto an ideal target there is the Rolster squad had to immediately respond the second that the gold card landed onto Doe. Unfortunately, nothing came of it because the rest of the fight went awry. I don't really like this Rift Herald. This is kind of terrible.
Oh no! Didn't even get the gold. Weber just drops it and dips.
Just drop 50 bucks in the Rolster bank account. Direct deposit. I don't know.
Rattel will take it. Has not been the the big player this game for Rolster, but still a potent side laner here. Only going to get stronger as the game goes on, but it is definitely Doe right now. Isaac's doing pretty well, and of course, don't worry about the gold right now for Luna. As the game goes later, Corky's only going to get stronger.
Yeah, Corky, a massive late game threat. And if you're talking about late game, the fact is Darkun don't have a whole lot for it. Lucian's all right late game, Kha'Zix all right late game. I would say Camille's strong late game, especially his utility. But nothing that compares to what's going to be online for Rolster, mainly in that Corky, but you also have significant counter threats from Rattel once he completes his item build with an advantage, as he is now about 1,000 gold flat ahead of the entire DKG squad over on that top side of the map. So, a very, very good game for Rolster. This has been a complete wish list of items.
So the DKG computer is going to come back. It's 3 out of TF. You know, Quaver's decently strong as Salem just found an angle. Emo is going to be the target. It'll be an awfully sad boy today. Actually, he's going to live to tell the tale. It's Happy Days, his favorite songs being released, and Salem booking it as the culling pops out from Wind.
Man, Salem just ate so much damage. And he's low now, which is why this Destiny gate gets opened.
Salem's okay. If we escorted out.
Just peeping in, seeing what you could see. You open the Destiny gate.
Sees 5 people. Decides not to ult.
We then Rattel was in the side lanes, which makes it kind of more hilarious because he saw Rattel isolate and went,
I don't think so. We had him twist of fate. Nah. Rattel didn't have the GA that he does have now. So that I feel like at this point, Fiora is online in these split pushes.
Hear me out.
Rattel's not leaving, let me tell you.
If you bait the riposte, it's winnable. I mean,
don't bait the riposte.
If you don't bait the riposte, you do turbo lose that. I do think this is where we go back to our fun fact history about Rolster's average game time.
Oh, true. It's coming up again.
Because Rolster are in complete control of this game. They could just take the Baron. What are DKG gonna do? Fight them? Rolster don't care.
Not a speedy team. Ooh, Isaac, good catch here. Great stasis there. Isaac gets out and goes back in. Maybe the target. Banner goes through. Oh, goodness, that was messy, but it still works out in the end, and Isaac is going to fall. But a worthwhile trade, I have to assume.
Yeah, no jungler here as the Infernal comes up, so. Rolster take that. And case in point, Isaac was at every possible disadvantage there and still won the fight, because that is how far ahead Rolster are right now. They could end this game. DKG are just going to keep throwing Hail Marys, see if one of them works out.
Luna is ready to go, by the way. Does have the package for this Infernal, so an easy pickup to that objective. Here we go. Oh, it's never mind. That's Lee Sin.
He was looking for a blue buff.
Really hoping that was close, but it was not. Still, Doe definitely able to cover some distance.
But here's my point. You see how Rolster do kind of just have this game tied up. And if you're watching a lot of teams at this point, they just start the Baron. And DKG fight into it, obviously, and you win because you're this far ahead and the game's over. But Rolster say, I mean, we've got the better late game.
Exactly!
Why
Scaling!
We can just vibe for a bit here.
Drops Corki almost every game. Luna's like, I'm scaling, don't worry about it.
I mean, it's
Keep playing the game.
It's a little sketchy for me because Twisted Fate is such like a... If you land the right gold cards at the right time, you can maybe find a kill and 4v5, something happens. You're giving DKG time to work with. And if I'm a Rolster player, I don't want that.
Right, and that is definitely scary, but I think it does certainly speak to the style, obviously, of Rolster, and they're confident in their ability in these late-game 5v5 teamfights, and to their credit, they have been very good at that all tournament long as Doe. Gonna get it started there onto Emo, and it is not said by hours just yet, but it's about to be as Doe dives back in to finish off what he started as Salem! Rocket bots in for the kill!
Nicely done. Yet again, Salem, that's his second kill this game. Teamfight breaks out as DKG press forward into a 4v5.
Oh, Luna's just so strong. Doe flashes in, they know they can get this here. Isaac pops the moonfall, doesn't grab it, and oh my goodness! Doe just dives straight through the backlines, assassinates Wind, and that could be the game!
It should be. The 4v5 attempt from DKG kind of spells out exactly how desperate they are. And this will be a dive underneath the Nexus.
Look at that. Not even 17 minutes in and we're leaving the base. Okay, we're going back. We're going back. Surely. Miniwave's coming in. Nope.
We're recalling.
Oh, it's TP. Rattel's still here.
20 seconds on response. Here's Emo. 20 seconds on.
Oh, they do have TP. All right, all right. And it also enough. Don't worry, don't worry. There's the Nexus we're looking for. Lowering the average game time, one team fight at a time, TJ. As Rolster take game number 1.
You're darn right, Pastry. That is ahead of schedule. That is faster shipping than we expected on what was a dream game for KT. That was exactly what they wanted at the outset from that game. They delivered on the set win condition, Rattel winning top lane. They shut down Weber early. They really wasted his time. That's exactly what they had to do. They very clearly did the preparation, came in with the game plan, delivered on the result.
And that is the first game loss for Duncan Gaming this tournament. That is, like, we're talking them up. They were extremely potent, look like the best team right now, the team to beat. KT say, yeah, We got that. We can beat that, at least for one game.
And they do it through team fights. Rolster win team fight after team fight, deliver on the result through the 5v5, which is a very good sign for them.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely the style they're looking to play. Luna back on Corki. Obviously, just very consistent. Dodesley Sin, maybe the X factor here in this game. Definitely not, keeping it casual.
Above and beyond for Do, as he was the huge factor that I think put Weibo behind. He started to get more aggressive than we expected in that jungler position. And the second you're watching him, start finding some cheeky kills around the side, you see that early Rift Herald fight where he's chasing over the wall with Rattel to shut down the key targets, to shut down Weibo early. That speaks to a willingness of KT to take those risks with players who are not necessarily their key carries to chase down what they know are the stated, win conditions, the goals of their game plan.
All right, well, checking in on things that are also important, it is selfie time, as Kangas did want to see yesterday's Rolster selfie, and here it is. What's it look like? Oh, maybe they'll get a redo if they keep it up for game 2, but for now, we're going to head over to Latagris, Oma, and Grandin, who are on site with the Selfie Kings in Singapore.
I really appreciate Kangas calling for us to see that photo. We know that KY are potentially one step away from taking their next and show the development of those photog skills. We're back here on the ground floor in Singapore. Now, this was a great game for a lot of reasons. I think it's important to note the fact that DKG haven't just not lost a series. They hadn't lost a game until this point, and now Rolster Y have taken that chip off their shoulder and put it onto themselves with such a standout performance and a great game to boot.
Fantastic game. I mean, I think everyone on the side of Rolster Y played so extremely well here. They proved that they really do deserve to be one of the teams in contention to be the front runners for the entire Horizon Cup.
And it's interesting you bring that up because going into the competition, I think a lot of people were curious where they were going to be. We knew they were in the top. We knew they were going to be in the top half, but nobody expected them to be this strong.
Yeah, and the one thing that was consistently said about them is they're a team of fundamentals.
Yes.
In an interview before, talking about their reliance on their coach and the work that they did before. But it's one thing to be said. It's another to see that in full effect, having that consistency because of that preparation.
Yeah, exactly right. And when we've used this narrative point a few times now, but I think it really drives home the point. They are one of the most improved teams here at the boot camp for the Horizon Cup. And you really see why. They just show that they're such a well-drilled team.
And another part of that preparation came to the drafts and what they've been bringing to the table, still bringing that through in their gameplay.
Exactly. Stuff like the Alistar that they've been playing in their own regional leagues. They are one of the few teams alongside the likes of Sengoku that really enjoy that Alistar pickup because it's, in your words, almost the better Mel fight, right? You don't have to pick odd fringe picks like that. You go for the Alistar, it's so much more secure and offers so much more to the table.
I want to know both of your thoughts on the state of the games and how they've been approaching them, because we heard TJ talk about the average game time for them being on the longer side, cresting over 20 minutes. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to the point we made earlier. They're such a well-drilled team. They're very focused on playing around the methodical nature of the game that they practice. And I think that that really shines true with a draft like this. Even though the Fiora was drafted to be counted by the side of DKG, they could never really find any avenues to pick him off in the side lane because the way they manipulated their side lane timings was just so fantastic on the side of Rolster Y.
There is always something to look out for in this matchup. When facing off against DKG, it was extremely close, but not because somebody was throwing away a play here, throwing away there. There was so much responsiveness from both sides.
I think from DKG sides, what was surprising for us was to see Huiba not in a similar position to what we've seen a lot from his regional league. Instead, he's come into the Horizon Cup with a different mindset, a different focus now. He's in here to carry, to be the hyper accelerator. I think Do did an amazing job of shutting him down. Hopefully, we get to see Huiba kind of push back to his original style about shutting down the enemy jungle instead.
The excitement already rising within the teams themselves. You can hear them getting themselves energized for this next game. But diving into that matchup a bit more, when we were watching the game, talking about the fact that Huiba's brought out so many different picks, really showing that versatility. But having the different look here maybe allowed Do to really be the standout for his team.
I mean, when we look at Huiba so far in the Horizon Cup, he's been a 1v9 player. He's picked champions that take a lot of farm, take a lot of resources, and he delivers on them. This time around, changing it up a little bit, playing the Kazakhs to facilitate his side laners, to be more of a skirmisher, and we see that doesn't really work out here. So do we expect to see DKG go back to what worked for them in the next game?
Yeah, and the thing that they brought to the table here, speaking of that skirmishing style, it did have some similarities to what we saw Team Queso bring out in the first match of the day, but with some minor adjustments as well. But why is that? Why was it better?
I think when you look back at it, they still have a lot of the similar concepts. They have a decent side lane, you know, they have good side control, they can get some decent dueling potential there, but they have some. But where Queso kind of focused their eyes on were getting that initial engage, playing for stuff like the Javelin, for the Galio to get that initial engage off. But as a result of that, they sacrificed way too much dueling power. DKG still held on to a big part of that, and so they were still at least able to hold on against Rolster.
So when speaking a bit more about those changes that you like to see, you had already noted, Omo, that maybe some kind of adjustment in draft. What is that? Is it just getting Hueba on a carry? We obviously know his Graves and plays like that. But well, yeah, give me those 2 things.
Number 1, put Hueba on something that can take resources, that can excel, take the farm, and carry the game by himself. He doesn't need to rely on his teammates. He might be the best player we have here at the Horizon Cup. Let him be the carry. Number 2, don't test Rattel on Fiora. That champion has been basically perma-banned for a reason. I know you came in with a strategy to counter it, to shut it down, but just don't give it to him.
See, here's the thing with that. I was talking to What the Jess, right? And I was asking him a little bit
Nice
about...
name dropping.
Yeah, well, I was asking what he thought about the Z meta that's been kind of showing up a little bit, especially with these Eastern teams. He was telling me, well, if you leave up any of the big 3, right now it's Fiora, it's Riven, it's Camille, stuff like that, then Z automatically increases in priority. The thing is, we've seen both Isaac and Yo both play that champion, and to a really high degree. I think in this game, there could be a chance for them to push towards something different like that instead.
And based on the self-criticism that we have heard from members of DKG, even after absolutely smashing games, you know that they're going to come through with some fire in their eyes for Game 2, make the changes they need to try and pull off the victory. But I want to know if RY are going to deliver them their first series loss on the side of Dakun Gaming. Let's send it back to the casters to find out.
Hello and welcome back. As TJ, we have had an historic moment in the Horizon Cup here. Dakun Gaming have officially lost the game.
And if they lose another, it will be the first time a Chinese team has lost a series here in Singapore.
That's true. Dakun Gaming was looking like the team to beat coming into the day, and Rolster have risen to that challenge here, taking them out in the first game.
A meaningful improvement for the Korean region. Rolster, of course, the only team to take a single game, a single series off of any Chinese team until this point in competitive play internationally. They did that in the WPL versus WCK. And Rolster, it seems, have only grown more powerful since then, as they come in here and shut down Dakun at their own game, getting very quickly out on the map using Do's Lee Sin, winning an early fight, targeting Hueba, boosting Rattel out ahead, and most importantly, turn it up in those 5v5 team fights.
Yeah, I think, you know, Rolster are definitely establishing a pretty consistent identity as a 5v5 team, as a slower team, but a team that is almost inevitable once they hit a point. Even if they're so far ahead that they could end the game, they will make sure the game is going their way and leave very little to chance by the end of it all. But I think the thing you said in there is the one that stands out to me. Shutting down Hueba seems to be the key to victory up against Dakun Gaming.
And it's a little confusing for me that is such a hard counter to Dakun, because they do have other really good players on that squad, but they are, it seems, so set on boosting Hueba, on making Hueba the key carry of the team. Putting all their eggs in that basket was bound to go wrong sometime. Somebody was bound to start bullying Hueba in his own jungle, start finding him in early team fights. We'll see if there's an adjustment made. I think you could play through Yo as well. You do have other star players on this team that Dakun could pivot towards playing through as we get into draft here.
You know, players will be loading back into Champ Select in just a moment. I'm sure Dakun Gaming going to have to shake it off again. Haven't had to go through this quite yet in the tournament. We'll see how they end up here as Rolster is trying to get that potential sweep, actually, which would be even bigger. No analyst predicted the 2-0, even though we did have a split on who was going to win the series.
And of course, if we go to a Game 3, it will be the first Game 3 of their entire tournament over for Dakun. As we do also have some question marks hanging over the draft over on the KT side. Last game was a Rattel game. A lot of emphasis passed towards him as they got him Fiora early in the draft. Can you do that again? Do you get given the opportunity to draft a top lane carry onto Rattel, who has been so impactful in a top lane meta, now that it is obvious Dakun cannot contain that?
I also wonder what side they're on, because I'm going to have to guess that they've swapped it over if they've been given the option, which I assume they have, given that they did lose the last game. It does feel like we heard this at the top of the day that you want the first pick.
I do want to point something out, Pastry.
Oh, what's up?
I didn't notice this.
Okay.
Look at this stage. Look at the little armrests that the players have built into the desk.
Yeah, I did see this.
They're gaming cushions for your elbows.
Gotta keep the elbows nice and safe. You know, especially for, Rolster Y. Their games are very long. Like, they gotta really protect the forearms, you know?
You can lose some circulation.
I like that as a feature.
Yeah, I noticed it because I thought one of the players had broken the desk. There was this big indent. It was one of the TSM players, I think, and I was like, "Wow, he made a dent in the desk or something."
You know, if you're gaming that hard, could happen, I suppose. But I'm sure the stage is nice and sturdy over there in Singapore, as the teams are lining things back up. Because that Rolster were touch late to get back to the stage, but it seems like they're getting everything in order. Got to be able to hear each other. That's pretty important, as it turns out.
And they do have more options than they've shown us so far. Obviously, we're putting big emphasis on Rattel playing on the top side of the map. But Rolster also have Isaac, who showed up when they wanted him to be the carry. They said, we're going to play through Isaac. They gave him Zed, Yasuo at various points during their competitive history. And he's entirely capable of delivering. So this double threat out of KT is, I think, the key to their long-term tournament viability. If you only are playing through, oh, we've got a star top laner, it's easy to shift your strategy, contain a top lane, though it's hard to contain Rattel. But if you have the opportunity to say, we can win through either of our solo lanes, either Isaac or Rattel will take you out of the game, that's much harder to play into over a long tournament.
And they do also, I think, just have the option of Luna, who is very, very good in the late game spots. Like, I talk about this being an inevitable team. Luna is often that inevitable threat on this team.
Yeah, he is, as I like to phrase it, the insurance policy. Right. Very rarely does Luna define the early game. He's usually on a scaling threat like a Corki or a Vayne, something of that ilk. And that means that for the early game, he can't really do much. He's got a little Nerf gun. He's squirting some water out. That's about it. But as things go late, he inevitably scales up because he is so good at staying alive in that lane, doing his job, farming up, and then once we come to team fights, KT protect him, and they shift the strategy. Okay, Rattel dominated the early game. Hopefully that's enough that he's a real threat in this fight. But also, you'll notice during those fights, Rattel's primary mission was to protect Luna. He wasn't going for the insane dives in the late game team fights. He was sitting back and acting as a bodyguard to the Corki, who was their major win condition.
Now, I suppose we'll find out in a minute or two, as the draft is on the way, but not quite there yet. Do you think that this is the game, after the first loss where Dark can say, okay, Quaver, we're going to pivot away from playing around you in the same way, maybe not so much on the Jax or the Riven, unless you, I guess, get those picks. Maybe, honestly, on something like the Lee Sin, just now facilitate someone else. Because, like you said, there are plenty of carries on the Darkun side.
I mean, here's my thing.
Okay.
We picked Kha'Zix. And I feel like maybe Darkun are just going to go, yeah, Kha'Zix, not what we normally go with, not a hard-scaling teamfight carry, the way Jax is, the way Graves is. Let's shift the focus back over there. And I don't think that's the correct lesson to learn, because I think that Hueba was really knocked behind in gold during early teamfights, and that would have been the case unless he had been on something early game, like maybe Zinzao or Lee Sin. So I think shifting away and demonstrating the capacity to draft and play two other carries at this point would be the most interesting thing Darkun could do. But to answer your question, Pastry, no. I suspect that we are instead going to see another performance focused around Hueba. I don't know who that is, but they just took the top off of their cup in order to drink out of it. And Julian, we actually have some very similar ones here at our studio, and they have this hole in the top of them to drink out of.
Yes, that is correct.
At the point when you drink from them, I learned this recently.
Yes.
When you have the top on and you spill them, it's not as bad as when I backhanded an entire cup of tea during game number one.
He did. You did not see it. Maybe it's on camera. Maybe we'll show it later for a bit of B-roll. But it did happen. I was there. I just turned around and was like, oh, okay.
Imagine how bad it would have been if I'd taken the top off to drink.
I mean, it would have been an absolute tragedy. You would have completely, created all the surface area for that to just spill everywhere. Probably hit the analyst desk over there.
My notes are slightly tea-stained.
Now they look weathered.
There's like a little. That's that's why I had to switch to electronic notes, because I used to have a binder that was just full of pages and pages of paper, and they would get horrifically tea-stained across the tournament, because that's not a one-off pastry. I am a very clumsy human being.
So now, you know, you go back through that, it looks like you've got like ancient tomes of tournaments of your...
That's true. I have a shelf at home that's just all my notebooks from previous tournaments, and they're all weathered.
Well, I know you've been around a while.
Not nearly as long as the notes make it seem.
It's like some discussion back and forth. Not too sure if there's a hold up or if the players are just, you know, heading back. And I did hear a couple minutes ago that Champs League was about 3 minutes away, so I have a feeling as the internal clock ticks again. Not good at maths, so don't quote me on it. We might be approaching our second Champs League tier.
Did you say that was lettuce in the field alongside them?
It is some sort of brassica out there in the fields.
Brassica?
Yeah, it's the family like lettuce and stuff belongs to.
What do you mean family?
So what do you
like
family of
brother,
plants?
sister,
No, like
father?
Plants that are in a sense, right? They're like related to each other of similar genus. Doing too much, apparently.
Pastry's dropping all kinds of words on me. I'm not following this.
But yeah, lettuce. What? Okay, we're going.
Give me the relations of lettuce right now.
Oh, like kale, radicchio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are similar plants.
Yeah, they're all from the same family.
So that could be kale alongside them.
Yes,
kale.
I have likened. I guess maybe it's some California bias leaning in, but I have started. I believe it's a field of neon kale. It's very pretty, whatever it is.
Yeah, make a good smoothie.
Radioactive green juice.
We're in LA. Gotta make those kale smoothies.
It is also again fun, but very early, as it turns out. So I wonder if the radioactive kale smoothie is better or worse than your regular one at keeping you awake in the wee hours of the morning.
We had a strat. Me and one of the producers, Zeus, actually told me about this.
Okay.
We have Arcane flavored popcorn that's like branded with the Arcane TV show.
Yes.
And it's like some kind of watermelon flavor.
Yes.
And watermelon flavor popcorn tastes exactly as strange as you would think it does. But here's the wild thing. It wakes you up. If you're going long hours and you ate the Arcane watermelon flavored popcorn, it's like an espresso. You're back in the game.
All right, and with that is perfect timing. TJ has summoned Champ Select with the power of the watermelon popcorn, as we have indeed not switched sides. As my eyes readjust to the set in front of me, it is Rolster back on the blue side, banning Jax away from Darkoon Gaming, who are over on the red for game number 2.
One of my favorite memories of early Wild Rift Esports is the very first day of the WCK. The Rolster coach held his draft binder that has just an infographic of all the characters they want to pick, and he held it with the draft binder facing out. Rookie mistake. And so I'm just screen capping exactly what the Rolster tier list for all the characters is. Some of which still holds true. Koreans really favor the Xayah as opposed to other regions.
So it turns out that, they've learned from that, they've leveled up, they've taken a game of Darkoon Gaming, and they've got the notebooks the right way around.
Critically, that notebook was being held very protectively. I was noticing that on stage. Rolster here with the first pick. Do prioritize Rattel again, the bans again, that Jax taken out. Really the same story. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The onus over on Darkoon.
And they take Diana, they take Renekton, so that could be 2 solo laners, could be a jungle in their Instagraves pick up here though for Rolster.
Because Rolster know Darkoon very likely look at game number 1 and say, okay, well, we needed to give a better carry away, but Kha'Zix had a little bit of a pick character, that was the problem. And so Rolster say, you're not going to get Jax, you're not going to get the Graves. At that point, I don't know what you pull out in the jungle with Fiora also taken. That's the 3 hardest carry junglers out of the pool. And yeah, Darkoon pull out the Kha'Zix again.
This time though, Twisted Fate is on the other side. That was the other pick that was taken here, which feels pretty good at helping these Graves and Fiora hunt down this Kha'Zix.
I'm going to be real with you. As far as I'm concerned, Rolster are demolishing this draft.
Good so far. Luna gonna break my heart and move away from Corki for a game, but Thyra Khan pretty good as well.
As I was just talking about. The Koreans do like their Xayah. I'm not the biggest Xayah fan. I do really prefer Corki. I think Xayah struggles sometimes to play aggressively. But they have other tools for that in this draft. You have the Twisted Fate, you have the Graves.
Whoa! Is this our first Leona? I don't.
Second.
That's what I
It's
thought.
one of the LATAM teams. pulled out of it.
Definitely not a champion we see all that often.
She's right on the edge of viability as far as I'm concerned. I would go with other picks first. The big thing she does have, though, that this team needs is hard engage.
A lot of hard engage.
That Solar Flare still very good engage tool, and with the Twisted Fate removed, kind of the only way Dark and Star fights is with the full commit of YK or Yo here, either on the Diana or the Renekton. So having an alternative tool, using that Leona Solar Flare to start fights combos very well with the Diana, combos very well with the Renekton. I see the logic, but it does mean they're going to be a little bit squishier on the tank front than some other alternatives. It's not the hugest problem. Rolster have no tanks to speak of. It does mean that there's going to be a lot of emphasis on Emo's ultimates. If he lands those Solar Flares, they're in business. If he doesn't, they're in trouble.
And if maybe the plan is to, again, make sure Hueber is picking up a lot of the farm, perhaps Hueber can come play to the Leona lane, right? Leona does have enough CC to lock down the likes of Xayah and Rakan, which is typically not an easy thing to do, and try and pick on Luna a little bit, perhaps, if they want to, right? The way Darkun have worked with their jungle is Hueber just goes off and farms, right? When everything else is happening. But perhaps you can alter it up with a pick like Leona and look to get Kha'Zix into those lanes as well.
One of the problems with Leona in lane is the lanes are much shorter than they are in PC League of Legends. So if you full engage on Leona in PC League of Legends, you have the room to get very likely another rotation of engage off before the other players are back behind their turret. Whereas in Wild Rift, you get the Zenith Blade, you get the stun, and then they're back behind their turrets. You got to kill them real fast. One of the only characters that can do that, Kha'Zix.
All right, well, real fast is the name of the game, and
Wow.
Doe is gonna dodge the incoming Zenith Blade.
And some Team Queso flashbacks there.
Yeah.
We were gaming.
Feels like, you know, every one game in every series, we're gonna get the people running down to the little bush. As, ooh, a little bit of, I haven't seen this too much, but Ratel actually gonna help Isaac push in very early here.
Yeah, you do this if you want to boost your top laner out ahead. It makes sense because of the speed at which you can get back to top lane. So Ratel gets some of his CS there, and he's going to be able to get into the top lane without missing an equivalent amount.
Also, I think Spotted Quaver, because that Scry's Bloom did get popped by Isaac if it's there. Seen a lot of that actually from Z. That's what he was doing in a lot of his lanes with the early prior. So as you can see, Isaac a little low on XP, but he'll be just fine. Twisted Fate not so interested in doing much other than farming until he gets 5, and then the ulti can start to affect him up as per usual.
Yeah, Isaac does have a pretty good matchup into Diana. The Diana is chosen against Twisted Fate because she can survive the matchup, she can punish Twisted Fate if he gets a little too frisky. But at the same time, you're not going to be killing that TF. He can sit behind his turret, he can hold his gold card.
So even a little extra tax there. Just gets the way pushed in. Quaver also showing in mid.
It's an Isaac game. Sometimes it's an Isaac game and Isaac gets all the gold. This is not.
Almost feels like a Dur game, honestly. I mean, after the game 1, I can't really blame them.
Well, it's the Graves. Whenever you're playing the Graves in the jungle, you want them to get as much gold as possible, so they are intentionally incentivizing extra CS into their pocket to get the carries while Rolster are over there on the top side.
That was such a sick little bit of movement there from Luna, dodging on that skin of blade. They wanted to see it as you're getting in onto Isaac, but nothing happening here.
Yeah. Decent amount of gold into Dome's pocket. He's going to be able to recover that now as they head on up towards the scuttle. Lock it down. Perfect timing for this upcoming Rift Herald over there on the top side.
Crab going down there. Quaver is going to get some assistance to make sure he can take that objective, but Doe is just bombing up a storm right now.
Yup. This is real good for Rolster. Doe, very scary on this Graves. Ratel, early lead up in the top lane is going to be generated because he's going to catch the wave that YK is pushing in right now. He just finished backing. Rolster even winning down bottom. This is their weak side, but Luna and Salem are experts in surviving these tough lanes without support. And DKG, if they want to turn this around, need to get out on the board early as soon as Hueva feels comfortable. Now that he's hit level 5, to start showing up and finding gold, finding kill opportunities.
Isaac also level 5, gonna take it back here. Ooh, nice interplay redirect on the Salem. Not enough lockdown, but actually does get the flash out, but Emo so low at the end of that, has to walk away.
You just can't tank here a Wild Rift on Leona. You just take those hits and it hurts. Luna manages to dodge out on being hit by the solar flare properly and deals the damage necessary to turn things around. Emo is to back away. Wind at no point is comfortable in range, just pumping out orders. That's not a situation he lives in that lane.
Eyes on that first. Big objectives are popping up in 25 seconds. Looking at Isaac, he doesn't have the Rod of Ages quite finished yet, but does of course have the ulti. So ready on either side of the map they want to play to. I love this from Salem too, actually hanging around in case of emergency.
We're 10 seconds away from this Rift Herald, which would normally mean you can't back right now, but Isaac of course has ultimate. So he resets rather late, picks up Rod of Ages. And he'll be in range to ulti and shoot his spike pop up early.
Spotted, yeah, there's a ward that he was trying to clear out. Oh, Emo face checks it, and now they're going to try and make him pay. Isaac just walking back to lane with the gold card there. He's going to lock down Emo, but the solar flare is going to turn it back around. The culling is massive, but Salem's going to block it. There's the stun, but Isaac's too low.
Salem made so much damage there. That was brilliant Rakan play. Manages to keep Isaac alive through Wind's entire ultimate. He's still here, ready to play. However, it did force a back from Isaac. He's going to be reset. DKG want to take advantage of this opportunity. Here we go.
Still has the Otto Salem, pop the quickness, looking for the play. Backline, they go away with the target. First blood on the table, but it does go over to YK, and they're still going for it. Isaac is trying to take that Hueva, but Hueva is still fighting. Finally, dives to Doe, and he got a double kill.
Isaac held on to that for so long. He didn't finish off Hueva so that Doe could get the kill. He waited for so long. They are feeding gold. They're handing gold over to Doe on the Rolster side. They are so desperate to get this Graves out ahead. And Pastry, it is working.
Yeah, 1,500 gold ahead right now for Doe. Got the Herald as well to maybe deploy and get even more gold into the pockets as to watch this one again. This is quite a nice little X replay we have for you.
Now watch the initial engage, obviously. Salem popping off here with the Charmed 9. YK is still engaged, clustering everyone together with an ideal fight. And then very top, watch this. Isaac doesn't even auto-attack Hueva, waits for Doe to come through, giving him the double kill.
And even though it was YK that got the first blood, the big recipient is still the Graves that Rolster are trying to grow bigger and bigger into this mid-game. As the Dragon is going to be started by DKG. There is resistance though, not enough.
Drake will be picked up. Not a huge worry for Rolster because they're going to take this time to try and take the mid turret. Here's Emo and Joe for the combo as they arrive here.
Joe is just forcing YK away here. Level 9 Graves. That's the highest level in the game.
That's upsetting. I'm going to be real with you.
Look at him. He's bullying him. Oh, Salem trying for the fanciest play, or Grand Entrance perhaps tap there as lockdown here on the
no!
It's not the gold you want to feed back over. It is Emo that collects it as DKG come back alive.
Rolster kind of get a little wild here. Rift Herald wasted in the middle of the map for no real conceivable reason as Rolster, who do have a bad habit of misusing those Rift Heralds, do exactly that. And then they, instead of just taking the easy gold, farming the turret, Doe insists on diving behind the tier 1, which backfires, cost both him and Salem their lives. And I do not know what you do about this now as Rolster. You just lost so much of the momentum you earned.
Doe's going out for DKG to make sure to pick it up. Thankfully, for the Rolster squad, there are no additional pickups there, but that is an uncharacteristic play for a team so patient and deliberate as Rolster.
Yeah, Salem did not die on the map. He only found my heart when he went for that grand entrance. I was like, oh, he's dead, and I ignored him. Upon viewing the replay, he did not die.
No, they decided to kill the two Graves instead.
Yeah.
Seems like a bit of
which is huge. Still a massive gold lead in Doe's pocket, just because of how much they fed him during the early game. Hopefully there's a little bit more restraint, respect, sanity over on the Rolster side.
We're at it again. Emo going to be the target again. Not that tanky, but pretty tanky.
Top turret falls. DKG have the gold lead as they take the first turret of the game in the top lane and hold their bottom turret.
I can kind of see what you're saying though, right? Where it's like, this does look a bit uncharacteristic for Rolster because it does seem like they are trying so hard to get this Grave Golden kills. And like almost too hard. Like you don't need to overplay this much. You already have the lead, just let it farm.
And the sequence of plays that were just played suboptimally, I think because Rolster felt they were in such a dominant lead, has really cost them. That Rift Herald usage mid completely wasted the team, what they team forward for. Then they go way over aggressive on top.
Weber looking to assassinate Luna. Gonna be good enough indeed. Jumps in, gets himself the reset.
That's two.
Oh, that looks like two on my screen. And TJ's right. Weber's gonna nab the double.
Not bad at all by Dark Hunt. They are not a team to be disrespected, and they are well into the control of this game now, with Weber repairing so much of what went wrong early. Rolster need this Rift Herald.
Not enough people here. That's you. Go going straight in for it there. Dashing back around. Very nice indeed. As Emo looks for the ulti, doesn't find it. Rolster in full retreat though.
Yeah, they don't have the resources here to team fight this in any way, shape, or form.
Game gets stunned. Goes okay. Salem on the offense. Isaac has gone in with the TF ulti. Emo with the lockup though. But now Rattel's going to join the fray. YK stunned and killed. They somehow get an exit kill.
There's a very strange energy on Rolster here as our Twisted Fate teleports in onto Leona. And I'm not quite sure what to make of that face train.
I mean, you know, typically the support is the softest target on the Rift, but not in this game. Emo's relatively bulky right now.
Yeah, he has gargoyles. Not an easy kill. And it nearly went very wrong. Rolster do obviously benefit from that fight, grabbing YK, but they use the Rift Herald. And that means that DKG continue to maintain a gold lead here over Rolster. Rolster are going to need to win these team fights. They need to force these 5v5s and be much more organized about how they set up for them, rather than the last fight where they kind of just wandered into it, one by one.
Significant gold lead as well. Almost 3,000 gold ahead. And they finally, through sheer force of will, do kill this Leona, and with the Infernal Dragon just spawning, that is perfect timing.
I think Gargoyles was on cooldown last time they TF ulted in. So now 4v5, still dangerous.
Weber not here, by the way, now going in for the steal! That's the one! The Infernal Dragon going to DKG. Weber will pay the blood price, but that is worth it.
Worth it any day of the week! Teleport in, Isaac wants recompense, and YK tears him.
In we go. Oh, looking for the softer target in the backline, but no one can get through there. Instead, it's Rolster taking the tower instead.
What a play from Weber! He weaves through an entire team fight in a 4v5 and delivers on the most important dragon of the game to Dark Hunt, maintaining their gold lead. Rolster will get that turret, do get some control of the map back from the experience. But that is not what you want if you're trying to turn this game back around.
Yeah, there it was. Replay of Leona. That's just a straight face check out of the Gargoyle Stone plateless Leona, but Weber is still here to save the day.
You know, get another look at how he got into position for that. Sitting out the bottom here, through the bush. Rattel is kind of searching for him from behind the control, playing a stealth game. Thompson makes him steal. Easiest thing as well.
No there, but again, well worth it there. As it is Luna that picks up the gold, which is valuable certainly for the 2-item Xayah, scaling up into this game. Gold card here for Isaac, looking for someone, but the Rift Herald's going to get popped. It is aggression out of the rest of DKG as Yo's just diving on in there. And they're going to get the tower, they get the kill. The Twisted Fate is dead. A double kill there for Diana. And now Rattel just completely forced out. That's 3. Yo got a triple kill.
A slaughter in the mid lane for DKG. And this might even be game, as they have quite a quick game time. They've got a full minion wave here. Rift Herald's going to get another charge. This inhibitor is under serious threat. 10 seconds on the respawns, Pastry.
Nexus open, and Shelly's just going to peter out as they will retreat. But 4 kills, in fact, Salem just died somewhere in amongst the chaos.
And that's how you use a Rift Herald. What team play from Dark Hunt. Watch this energy here. They know they have the tools necessary to open this up, and it's all planned out. Set play. You're looking at the Leona's Solar Flare immediately upon the defenders, meaning Isaac can't use his full kit, and he's instantly followed up on Yo, dives in, Moonfall, followed up again by the front line. YK soaking the damage, the turret's gone as an afterthought, and sure, it sucks that the top lane, or the top side of that fight does include Emo dying, but yeah, you make trades, you make sacrifices.
Well worth it, certainly, for Dakun Gaming, who are, remember, still trying to keep themselves in this series. Losing the first game, surprisingly, up against Rolster to kick this off, and now in full control of this game.
Look at how aggressively Isaac is just bashing his Destiny game just to make sure Dakun aren't on the Baron.
Quickness, they're just going for it, but Rolster, this is not the team I know. This is not patient, this is not deliberate, this is madness, and that is where DKG can thrive as Emo is going to get the stun onto Do to follow through with YK already obliterating the rest of them, and yes, Emo will not die this time around, as that is the ace and the game, as we will have a third bout between these two teams.
The first Game 3 in Dakun's tournament run as they attempt to stave off the first loss of their tournament run. They drop some emotes outside the Nexus.
They're chilling. Don't worry, the game's over. Let's get away from the minion wave. And here it is, a final lap around the enemy Nexus as Dakun Gaming going to even it up.
What a performance. And kind of disastrous for KT. They really did have that game under their control for the first, I would say, 5-10 minutes. And that one sequence of plays where they get over-aggressive, Do dies in the top lane, they waste the Rift Herald completely. That cost them everything. You cannot give a team like Dakun Gaming freebies like that.
I mean, that certainly was the biggest misstep, but I just felt like, and you said it multiple times, like, they're trying so hard to get the Graves ahead that they already got ahead, and they just couldn't stop throwing good money off the bat.
And Do did not look comfortable with the role during those team fights. We talk about that team as a team that is very good at defending Luna, and very often the team revolves around that. You put Luna at the very back of the team fights, he pokes out the damage wall of your teammates defending you. That game, it didn't feel like they had the same level of protection for Do. It didn't look like Do was positioning correctly to receive that level of protection. Very often he was in the front lines of the fight, starting the action. Very often he was taking fights when he didn't have the supporting players around him. And if you're an AD carry player, you're very used to manipulating your team fights so that you're never in that exposed position. That didn't feel like Do was comfortable. I don't think that was a role he is used to playing. And the results spoke for themselves. The second that game got dangerous, it was always going to slip between their fingers.
Yeah, touch messy in the middle, but it's still a Dakun win at the end of it all, as we are going to get now Dagon, Kangas's, and Arakizora's thoughts ahead of game number 3.
Thank you very much, Pastry and TJ. And so we've got ourselves a best of 3. The 1-1 is in play now. And now both my analysts, you guys went 2-1 both sides.
True.
Kangas, how you feeling about it now?
I feel better based on that performance from DKG. I think they got back to where they're strong. They were utilizing their grouping and their team fight much better this time around, and they didn't let the early game slip away from them nearly as bad as last time. I was a little nervous, though, in the first couple of minutes because we did still see the Rolsters get an early lead, Do getting some early kills there, and I was actually thinking, me and Iraq were having this conversation like, wow, 2-0, like that's crazy, like the narrative's completely flipped. But then DKG brought it back and came back into it just by playing scrappy. You know, they didn't allow the Fiora split push to come into play. They didn't allow this Graves to be a threat because everyone just kept diving on top of him. I think the Diana was huge there. So I think that, yeah, this is exciting because, again, the winner of this next game takes first in this group.
Yeah, Araki, you were definitely pointing out that draft a little bit. What stood out to you here?
I mean, I think Rolster Y are doing the right things in draft, but this game in particular, DKG were just one step ahead. We could see in display on screen, they followed the macro of KT Rolster around the map and denied them getting early game towers, which in the first game was really crucial for the gold leads that they had to snowball the game in the first place. But I do like what they're doing. I think their plan of focusing on having better team fighting, as it's my opinion their best or biggest win con against DKG. For the first game it was the Diana and the Alistar. The second game was the Xayah and the Rakan and the Graves. So I think KT Rolster are doing the right things. DKG are just the highest caliber of teams at the same time, and it's like a battle of two titans.
I'm surprised to see the Leona pick come out here, but I think that played a massive role as well. We saw in that highlight reel right there, Emo being able to provide so much CC. We saw like multiple times where the Rolsters were like, look, there's the support, kill him. And like the Leona's just so dang tanky that it takes so long to take it out. And also all the CC that it provides enables all this engage and enables Hueba on the Kazakhs to pop off. And this is now the third pick of Leona, 100% win rate. So in the right situations, we're seeing this is a dangerous pick, and going back to those engaged supports, the pool is so deep for them, and I think that you need to start respecting this Leona pick now.
Right, and think about how much was coming out from that champ pool at the support role. We were talking engaged supports in terms of Rakan. We're seeing James use Gragas a little bit. That can be both engaged and disengage. Alistair. Now Leona coming in that has a little bit more tankiness. And when you think tankiness, you're like, okay, maybe Alistair when ult is up. Maybe Braum for that disengage. But now Leona fits in a tanky engage compared to like a Rakan that's like quick engage, get in, get out, and how that utility plays out here, Rocky.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pick that's went under the radar for quite some time, but proven to be really, really strong at the right situations. Like you said, Kanga, so many times he did get caught out, but didn't pay for it with his own life simply because of how tanky Leona is. And I think another pick that is becoming really contested in this series is the Diana. First game went to KT Rolster Y, they won the game. Second game went to DKG, they won the game. So are we going to continue to see a lot of priority on that pick and how it influences team fights in particular, because that's where it shines the most? Yeah, we'll see in a second.
Yeah, you saw the photos of the pictures of the players there. Everyone a little exasperated. This is the long break that started at the beginning of it. A hectic game up against each other's toughest opponents so far. This is going to be a true test of their mentality.
And again, a lot's on the line. If you get first in your group, you're into the semifinals. So you know that both of these teams want this one. So looking at the next game here, Iraqi, you were mentioning Diana, the importance. I also want to see Luna back on the Corki. I think if you get Luna back on that pick, I wasn't fully convinced by the Xayah Rakan. I mean, in theory, I think it can work, but we saw that there were multiple times Luna wasn't able to get out damage during those team fights, whereas a Corki that can reposition and also look to get aggressive with the package. We saw what Luna did on it yesterday. We saw what Luna is capable of doing on this champion. I think that one of the primary picks. And also, maybe give it the TF, because Isaac, you can play the Zed counter matchup into that. So I think that there's still a lot more that Rolsters can do in the draft phase in particular, even though I still haven't happy with that draft.
Rocky, what do you want to see?
I mean, I think team fighting focused draft would be really smart for KT Rolster Y, as long as they don't split up a lot, because the game was lost right there when Xayah was split pushing and her team got caught without her. So it was a 5v4 that DKG recognized really well and jumped on the opportunity. So Rolster Y just cleaned up a little bit, played together. They had some mechanical issues as well in that game. We saw that one time Rakan flash W'd into absolutely nothing. So yeah, I think if Rolster Y just clean up a little bit, continue with the same drafting plans, they can definitely pull this through.
All right, big question now. We're sticking to it, sticking to our picks here.
I saw what they did to Riku when she swapped her picks, so I'm sticking with mine. I'm sticking to it. I'm committing right now. I'm not going to have a graphic grade about me, and I do still think that DKG just have the mechanical prowess to pull this one out.
You too, Rocky?
Yeah, I'm sticking with it as well. I think they're looking really good, and I would be really happy to see DKG go down just to make the tournament interesting.
Well, before we get to the exciting conclusion of this series, our boy Rafa thinks Kangas is copying someone's look. Kangas, what do you think?
Yeah, you know what? The vest is a different color, and also Braum has hair in that picture. So any resemblance, circumstantial. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, the vest looks fresh. He's fresh. Time for a fresh game number 3 ready for you. Let's send it back on over to our casters, TJ and Pastry.
Thank you very much, as we have arrived here almost at the end of our second series of the day, TJ. We expected a exciting matchup here between two very hot teams here at Horizon Cup. The hottest team, in fact, in Dakun Gaming, up against Rolster Y, who have looked excellent so far as well. And their first meeting is just as spicy as touted.
Yeah, hot in every sense of the word, as they go toe-to-toe now and game number 3, the first game 3 in Dakun's tournament run. This would also, if KT pull it out, be the very first loss in Darkun's tournament run. Rolster, for their part, are coming in trying to earn some redemption for the Korean region after they got rather thoroughly destroyed by the Chinese teams in their last meeting. This would be the first international defeat of Dakun Gaming, or for that matter, any major Chinese team.
Right, this is, the biggest international tournament so far in the young history of Wild Rift Esports.
The only Chinese team that has lost internationally before now is BLG. To be frank, they're not that good.
And they're also not here, which
They're also not because they're not that good.
Oh, I see. See, that lines up. As we are back on the same side, interestingly. Definitely felt like Rolster navigating these drafts really well.
Yeah.
But it definitely felt like they were not comfortable with the style that they had selected, which was basically steal the Graves so Hueba can't get it, but then you kind of have to play the Hueba style, which they weren't ready to do.
And also, pet peeve while we're here, the Koreans really do like the Xayah, and I'm just not a fan. And I do really want to see more Corki or even Vayne in Luna's hands. Let's talk about the draft we do have done. Very early pick for Rolster onto this Fiora. That's again going to be Rattel getting the superstar carry in the top lane. He's had an impact on this series. And yet again, the Jax gets banned down, countering Hueba.
Yeah, I don't think we've changed anything, at least in the bans. Certainly the first pick and the bans have stayed the same, I believe, every single game so far. We're back with Lee Sin Corki. They are indeed going back to, I would say, Luna's best champion. Certainly he's the best Corki here at the tournament that I've seen so far. So, never a bad insurance policy, as you said, to invest in Luna.
Not.
Premiums are high after that game, let me tell you.
But with the Corki, your premiums are always low. You don't need to give him that much money. Sits in the side lane. When you need him, he's there.
They did get into an accident or two in the last game. So you got to be a touch careful. As Hueba does take the Graves away.
Yeah.
Now they're going to have to play into the style that DKG made. So Famous says
But that's a game plan, Pastry!
My favorite champion in Wild Rift. That's the Kali.
In the middle of the map, that's going to be handed to Isaac, who does have a carry performance or two inside of him. And the game plan is very simple. Isaac go in, Hueba stop playing.
Oh, and there's the Garen! And not just any Garen, TJ!
That's the Garen support!
It is the Garen support, the famous Garen support. Is it Emo's famous Garen support? Is he the one? Is he the rascal doing this in the domestic tournaments?
He was the very first Garen support I've seen. As I talked about earlier with Thunder Talk, they do Garen support as well. A lot of Chinese teams think Garen supports.
Right. I was gonna say, I think the important note is that this is definitely a Chinese teams thing, right?
Yeah.
They are the ones that do the Garen support thing, and they are doing the Garen support thing right now in potentially in the third game of what could be their first loss here at Horizon Cup.
No, I saw this Garen support for the very first time, which by no means is necessarily the very first time it got played. But I saw it in the Spark Invitational Grand Final, which was where DKG qualified for this event. And Emo brought it out, and that was months ago. That was 3-4 months ago. So very early on that train, DKG, and they also, of course, had the Graves kind of ahead of everyone else, way back at the Spark Invitational.
All right, well, this is fun because, I feel like Rolster figured it out in Game 1, how to approach the draft and shut down Hueba. Game 2, they had a way to do it, but weren't comfortable necessarily executing on that style, even though they did get the lead. Game 3, they have basically been forced to give DKG the style that they have, until recently, not dropped a game with yet here at Horizon Cup.
Yeah. On the opposite side, though, Rolster get their dreams. Both their carries have carry characters. Both Rattel and Isaac are on their favorite do lists, and you have the Corki as Luna's insurance policy in the late game. It is the dream draft for Rolster versus the dream draft for DKG, and that means this game will come entirely down to execution.
That is exactly what you want in a Game 3, TJ, as the teams will head onto the Rift for the final time today. Only one can remain undefeated here between these two. Will it be Rolster White? Will it be Dakun Gaming? We're going to find out in about 20 minutes time. Or less. Depends who wins.
Yeah,
if it's the Rolster win, it's
minutes.
definitely 25 minutes. Guaranteed. Not guaranteed. Getting quoted. Unlucky.
I'll hold you to it.
I know, see, this is the problem. I knew you would.
DKG obviously are going to be playing towards Hueba on that Graves, so a huge priority here for Rolster is, as they did during game number 1, how do you get onto Hueba early? How do you bully him in his own jungle in early team fights with picks like Isaac's Akali, like Ratel's Fiora?
Once again, Ratel is off to a good start here in the 1v1. Been pretty consistent with the pressure. As our bottom side, what can you tell me about Garen support, CJ? Because I don't know. I don't know what it's supposed to do.
Have you seen Beyblade?
Yes. That's it? That's all it does?
Well, the big thing that DKG think, and I think they're right about this, he's got a trap, it's fine, is that there aren't enough health bars in the game, and more specifically, the health bars that are in this game are entirely too small. And the great thing about Garen's support is he's got a very big health bar.
Yes.
So you can put him in the front of the team fight and allow him to soak damage, use that spin silence to zone entire groups of people. And towards the late game, he even starts doing damage.
I was going to say, you know, in lane, it's looking good right now, but I think that's more the matchup and wins Lucian than anything else, as apparently it's Lee Sin goes top day. Literally every game this has happened where Lee Sin has been on the blue side, but YK's going to dodge it thanks to some help from Quaver.
If you have a Lee Sin, it's your responsibility to gank level 3.
Nice from Salem. Ignite down, they really want the kill here. Only going to get the stun onto Emo though, as Wind did flash.
If you have the Lee Sin, it's your responsibility to gank level 3. And if you have Ratel, it's your responsibility to gank Ratel. Thus, we will always see those Lee Sin gank Ratel in the first 5 minutes of the game.
Math checks out on that one.
Doing some equations. The thing I didn't mention about Garen, because I was trying to be supportive, I don't see him that often, is that's the other side of Garen that you just saw. Is he doesn't really have any CC. He has soft CC in the silence, but if somebody's determined to run past Garen, the only thing you can really do is yell, "Hey, stop!"
It kind of makes sense, you know, as far as Garen's character goes. As you see there, going forward, getting aggressive. Great time for Garen support. Your AD carry's getting run at by 2 people. Real bad times.
Yeah.
So,
Kind of a mole call at that point. Stop! Bring it back!
they never stop. They just keep on running.
Yep.
Those kids. Alrighty, Ratel. Chilling out. You know, just vibing. Got the Trinity Force on the way. Feeling good.
Ratel is going to do pretty well in this matchup. Renekton isn't an answer to Fiora. But he is a very good survivable lane. It's very hard to bully the Renekton in lane. And Ratel's not going to be able to do that without going above and beyond. And he's not going to do that before our first team fight. We are 30 seconds away from the first 2 major objectives of the game. You have the Rift Herald, which is normally Prio 1 for Korean teams. But the spanner in the works this time round is that there's an Infernal Drake as well. Infernal Drake, by far the most powerful dragon that can come up, a very significant damage boost for whichever team gets it. And I suspect Rolster may prioritize it because so many of their characters rely on having damage in the mid-lane game.
This has been consistent in this series. These teams have basically waited to these 4-minute spawns, and then kind of the first big inflection point of action has happened here. So Doe gonna go ahead and try and kill this crab. We'll get it. But no one's rushing to the dragon to get us. Isaac, ooh, going for Yo here. That was so close to a kill.
Isaac starting to pop off here. He's going to keep doing that. Isaac, an incredibly mechanically skilled mid laner, and he was on support duties last game, playing the Twisted Fate, letting Doe steal his wave. This time round, it is Isaac carry time. There's Rolster, as expected, going for their standard objective. It is going to be that Rift Herald up top. DKG will trade this. They are going to take the front.
All right, so this is the first time in the series, I think, where we haven't seen the team do battle at the first objective.
And you get that a lot with Infernal Drakes, because the Infernal is so high value, it's kind of the only time that the Rift Herald is equalized on the opposite side of the map.
There's the Herald. The Ratel is going to get funneled into early gold. Yoda up here to potentially save the dive. Like even popping Dominus. I might go for something here. Good kick.
No!
Doe.
Kicked away. Doe denies the fight. I have to say, I do really... Okay, team fight breaks out as Salem goes in. I don't think that turns into anything.
Yeah, and that's polarized, but Apollo almost dies actually in it.
Yeah. I do really not like the way Rolster use Rift Herald. They're very eager, very trigger happy on it, and they'll use it before they've got the confirmed damage to kill turret.
Right.
Which makes it very difficult for them to get first turret of the game, oftentimes in circumstances where you would think they would. The upside is it does get some quick dirty gold onto Ratel.
Yeah, feels like there's cash in for the place where I feel like in Wild Rift can certainly, you know, set up waves and maybe a bit more easily guarantee a turret actually being taken.
Yeah, and just, it's not even just Rolster, it's kind of the entire Korean scene. Just spends the Rift Herald for the instant cash. Don't know how I feel about it. We'll see if they win this game. That'll determine whether or not it's a good strategy, Pastry.
That is the only factor. Oh, Salem, once again, back with the rocket belt, but Emo definitely dodges it.
Spinning in the mid lane. Meantime, this wave is farming up.
You're a DKG fan, that's what you want to see. Oh, I can take it back. Never mind, good flash. Gets out from under Isaac's ire.
Yeah, look at the defense Yo's providing there. He's shadowing Quaver across the map, and this is a huge part of Quaver's success. It doesn't look like Quaver has any support there, but he's actually getting the attention of Yo, who is not gaining HP. He's not gaining gold during that time. He's sacrificing all of that just to be there outside of turret gold range, shadowing Quaver so that if Quaver gets in trouble, he can be defended. And that's incredible teamwork. That's an incredible sacrifice.
Isaac's so low. Yeah, does not want to headbutt Emo in. Emo's just going to go spinning. Isaac going to have to back in. This tower looks pretty dead on my screen.
You're never going to believe what he does. Okay, you hold this door. Ratel is fine.
Tanks out of there. Quaver, I like the attempt, getting some pressure. Again, any lane where he can go and potentially hit the tower is a great time. There's minions, there's gold to be had everywhere.
Bottom turret did fall during that exchange, as there was that dual pressure down there from Emo, and it was enough to scare Rolster away from the turret itself, meaning the first break of the game does go to DKG, growing their gold lead. Let me tell you, DKG fans, you should be quite pleased with where that gold is.
Upside though, Quaver is in trouble.
I take it back!
Yeah, and all of a sudden, Do first bloods him.
Nicely done by Rolster, converting the gold not only away from Hueba, but over into their own carries. As Ratel gets a massive gold boost out of that. Currently, the second most wealthy player on the map, second only to Wind, who's doing quite well on this Lucian. Will be a serious threat in these team fights. He's still able to go toe-to-toe with him, though, just because of character.
I want you to know, though, that you've now permanently drawn the ire of the Korean fans, because you curse Hueba. Right here, this is you.
I'm sorry, Chan.
It's also good.
Time in.
Well, I knew what I meant too, and I still said it wrong. Incredible. That's okay, it happens to the best of us. Happens to me too. As Salem here in mid, defending. Luna with the package, ready to go. No objective just yet, but 8 seconds in, and we'll have one to play for. So I do, again, love the timing rolls to always use the package well.
We're into teamfight territory now. I was curious if we get a 5v5, but Rolster and Stanfield, and they are in control of this game states. The priority is over on this Drake. Darkwood do not feel they're in control of the game state. They want to get key gold onto their key carries, so their priority is over on the Rift Herald. We handshake yet again, very polite, lots of business being done here today, Pastry.
It's very cordial, third game here, as getting a little rougher for Emo here in the bottom side. But
that's a big HP bar.
That's what I was going to say.
That's a big HP bar.
There's a lot of health in that Garen, and they can't chew through it.
It's a big boy right there. Not a whole lot you can do. Emo spins a bit. The attempted gank down bottom is just cancelled by Rolster. They do currently have a gold deficit. You might be like, that's great for DKG. But a whole lot of DKG's value is going to peter off, particularly in that Lucian, I believe. I'm also not a huge fan of the late game teamfighting influence of Diana. She's kind of a moonfall, and that's it. Whereas Rolster do have Corky, who's going to go toe-to-toe with the Graves. And they got the Akali, then they got the Fiora. It's very scary to DKG. And they'd like to make some action happen here.
Isaac going for it. There's one. That's going to be an easy kill.
That's a big HP bar.
Gets the flip. He's going to be able to dance back. Didn't have R2 ready to go, so that's actually a
He's going to get
kill.
both.
Yo's looking for them here. Does have the flash.
Flash in.
That's it. Flash Q. That's enough. And DKG taking over.
And DKG benefit from some over-aggression, some desperation from Isaac. As he did not need to do that for all the reasons I just outlined. And he full commits to kill DKG's support. The second time in 2 games he's actually done that, if you remember the Destiny gate in game number 2.
And I was gonna say, as you were saying that, right, where if I'm gonna trust in anyone late game team fighting with this kind of comp, it's gonna be Rolster. But they are so far behind now if you watch the Act 3 play. And Isaac just overplaying. This is, again, very uncharacteristic of this team.
Yeah, look at this from Isaac. Completely unnecessary. And you know Yo's going to do exactly that. Diana's a very good defensive character. Top lane fight.
Yep, it is a kill. This time for Rolster, getting one back to take out YK with a 3-man gank.
Nicely done by Rolster. Somewhat mitigating what went wrong down bottom. The gold again over to Rattel. We will see if they can get more.
It has to be a Rattel game almost at this point, and they are going to put some more eggs in the basket. Sailing with the C. They're going to hit the tower. Yo's up here as well, though, and here comes Wins. Emo just zones him out.
Turret goes down. You can see Rolster learning on the fly what all Chinese teams have had to learn for a while. Just don't even bother auto-attacking the Garen. It really is not worth it.
It's a big old distraction.
It is also for anyone following along font of life, Garen. Energy going with the spin the win. Everyone on your team gets to reach out.
Good time. Seen this in a couple of the bot lane melees. We did have them at the center as kind of the most obvious example of font of life at work in a bot lane.
We did like a big bulk T-pose type deal to demonstrate the Nasus. Yeah, it's kind of what's going on here with Emo as well. He's just a large health bar and he can sit there in the front lines and force Rolster to play around him. And that's going to be a problem as we get to the late game. Rolster dependent upon their team fighting skills, and that means 2 things. First of all, Isaac Rattel must get onto Hueba. They must convert that kill. Second of all, Luna must stay alive.
To be fair, Luna's often very good at Salem here charging in. That's a very nice stasis. And here comes Emo. The defense has arrived. The tower is dead. But in the 2v3, what's going to happen? Wind on your screen as CJ highlights. Lets the culling rip. Great kick there out of Doe. But that's not enough to save the day. It is Salem that falls.
And with Weber on his way as well, Rolster need to break this off. They're down a player. Drake's going to be burned. Doe knows what's going on. He can't step up here.
Yep, just flashed on instantly by YK, and that's going to be enough zoning for the Dragon. Dakun Gaming grab Dragon number 2. Luna forced to package away. And Isaac ready with the ulti, but what are you going to do as Rattel's chased out of his own jungle?
Rolster are making me so nervous right now. The way they're playing this, not respecting DKG CC, walking up into YK blind, that could have broken so poorly for them. As is, they trade a turret for a Cloud Drake, which, as we say in the business, we take those.
It's definitely better than nothing, but as I look up and I see the gold lead that Dakun Gaming have, I see a lot of different things here in this series. I think about what happened in that first game, and even in that second game. And TJ, all I can see is Hueba having the most gold in the game in 3 hours on a farming jungle. They are back in the form that they have been showing us all Horizon Cup long.
And that means that we're going to get exactly what we kind of started this series discussing. DKG have now executed their dream composition, and it comes down to this. Can Weber provide the value he should in these team fights, or can Rolster burn him down?
Can Ebo go? Spinning around with both the sweeper and the blades. He's just a ward, a battle ward. The biggest ward you've ever seen.
Yup. That's what the Garen support's gonna do. Weber steps forward here, not punished.
I'm spooked, I'm scared. Rattel gonna have to back away alongside Salem, but Baron is on the menu. Weber's gonna start.
He'll burn it. Wind and Weber, this is gonna be a very quick Baron take. Doe knows this, he's in the area.
Yeah, he's gonna get kicked out pretty instantly, has to burn the dash, but DKG are patient.
It's all about Weber here. Does he stay alive in this team fight?
Culling burn by Wind just to poke Isaac. Decent amount of damage.
I don't like that culling use because it is now down. Will be for about 30 more seconds.
Way to the target, as we know, there's the kick! Oh! Target they needed, Doe! It's gonna make it happen, they take out Emo though! That's not what they wanted, but Isaac is gonna try and save the day, and again, too far there as he's trying to dip his way out. Maybe gonna be enough. Actually, it's DKG that have gone too far, but Quaver is still alive, but for how much
He's
longer?
dead!
Rattel finally gets the kill they need.
Rolster put the team fight together. They show up when they need to. 15 minutes into the game, and they scoop Wave out from behind his defenses. Fight him twice underneath the turrets.
Is there anything else that we'll have to find out in a moment? Because this is the fight that turns the game back around for Rolster.
Doe in with the kick. He's in stasis. No, he's not dead, but he adds no value to this fight because Weber, by the time he's reset and come back in, has no chance to fight with his team who are already dead. Rattel provides value, Salem soaks up the damage, and Weber is dead before he gets 5 auto attacks off.
Rattel diving on through. Baron still up though. Elder Dragon not spawned just yet, but it is coming up here as Darkun Gaming have the Dragon lead right now. This is starting to get to Rolster's happy place in any given game. I said 25 minutes, we're approaching 20. Luna has 3 items, Isaac has 3 items.
However, the Weber threat is not gone.
No.
Much like the Dark Lord, Weber is dead but not defeated. He will return. And when he does, he will have just as much damage. He's still on 4 whole items, Pastry. And that means you must do that exact focus every single team fight if you are Rolster.
I'm looking at Isaac, I'm looking at Doe, I guess Salem as well. They're the ones that can potentially find this target. It's going to be a little too tough for Rattel. Impossible for Luna. Rattel going back in for it though. The Elder is up, as you said. Salem finally engaged, trying to take the 4v4, but YK just ripping through them alongside Emo. Isaac, he's going to try and take the kill, but Quaver is arriving, and that looks like a real trouble here for Isaac. He's going to dip out of the way, and somehow, despite all that, no kills.
So Rolster go for the fight because they see Weber down by the Elder, and they realize they can fight it. The second Weber returns, they are out of there.
TPs, Salem went back. They do not. But they're running back here, and now DKG have to face check the fog outside the Elder, but they haven't started it just yet. You get a ward down.
Quavo will do a massive amount of damage to this Elder. As a result, they cannot be left alone. Rattel cannot recall. They have to fight here.
We're going for it again. Salem has the flash. Rattel, they know he's there. He's not going to surprise them. They have to find the angle here. Isaac going around. He's trying to find the flank.
Board in. Rolster know exactly the HP of this Elder. Here comes Isaac on the flank.
That's the kick. Isaac though diving back in again. It is Weber they need to look for, but Emo grabs the first kill. Isaac though is taken out to Renekton. The double kill though for the...
Yo!
It's Yo going up for the triple. The Elder's still on the table. Weber still alive, and DKG still in this game.
Weber survives the team fight, and Yo cleans it up. A triple kill. Secures the Elder, secures the ace, secures the game out the series to DKG as they push down the mid lane. 30 seconds on the death timers. There's no chance, Pastry.
They had to fight very hard to get to this point, but it still remains the same. A game loss is not the same as a series loss, as DKG will have a scratch on the record, but are still undefeated here at Horizon Cup.
And so is the entire region, as Darkun and Thunder Talkers continue to lead both groups. 4-0 here in Group A for Darkun Gaming, and Rolster look distraught.
That was a game that they could have gotten. There were so many heroics there for Rolster. At one point in this game, down 5,000 gold and still finding ways back into it. But it is the inevitable Darkun and Hueva's graves.
Yeah.
The fights to the end around that Elder to finish off that game.
I really don't have an answer for the back half of that other than pure team fights. That comes down to execution, and that's what you love to see in a good Wild Rift game. A series, a best of 3 series that comes down to a 20-minute team fight. I am thriving, Pastry.
Yeah, that was a fun one. We expected, again, the Rolster games to go late, but I guess the thing I didn't expect was them to lose that late game team fight. I guess to their credit, they were still a little far behind when it happened. Had to do some maneuvers to even get to the point where they could fight for their Elder. But at the end of the day, it is Darkun Gaming taking yet another victory selfie.
thought the cameraman was going to get in on that one. We were sweeping times. I thought we had opportunities.
Waiting for the metagame to evolve, right? Are the coaches going to get involved? Are there any like mascots or like things that teams have on them they can take pictures with? You know.
I think one of the big takeaways we also have to say from today, we just did a Thunder Talkers and a Darkun game, is so many of these teams, both these Chinese teams, revolve around stars. Huiba for Darkun and Z over on the Thunder Talk side. And we have seen now both teams kind of stumble if you manage to shut down those stars. Huiba is so obviously the key to defeating Darkun. The game that just got taken off of them was done so by denying him a draft. The game that they very nearly won was taken off of, or was nearly taken off of them by diving him in teamfights, shutting him down in teamfights. There is a blueprint now for beating the Chinese super teams. And I think the real question is which team is going to be able to follow it first.
Yeah, definitely exciting to watch as things develop at Horizon Cup. We are going to send it now back over to the analysts to break that one down.
DKG finally get pushed, finally lose a game, but still come out on top and remain undefeated. What a series it was, Kangas.
I mean, that maybe is one of the best series that we've had so far in the entire event. They got pushed at the end. Iraq, I'm going to give props to you. You said that this was the team, Rolsters, that can push Dakun, and we saw that. It came down to the wire, that last team fight. And I mean, credit to Rolsters for giving that much credit, or pushing them that far, but I knew it. You know, you called it, 2-1. I wasn't nervous at all. I wasn't sweating. Clearly the superior analyst comes out on top here. But as we look at the game plan, Do Lee Sin is just something. It's a treat, man. Like, I love watching this player on this champion. Multiple picks, multiple ways to keep them in the game, but the Garen support was just a menace as well. And even though Rolsters were able to find a lot of kills, specifically off of the Akali pick, cool to see Isaac playing now as second assassin, also the first Akali of the tournament here. I mean, a lot of this highlight play will actually show Rolsters getting wins, but Dakun just do such a good job of getting gold everywhere else on the map. And what you're not seeing here is how many turrets they were getting, how many waves they were getting. And then this is the final play where Yo just goes absolutely off.
Yeah, I think you're touching on the perfect point, and that DKG's macro to knock down every outer turret while defending their own by clearing the waves very timely shows just how impressive they are and how strong and what caliber of a team they are.
Yeah, there were some crazy flanks there. I thought that last fight could have gone either way, but it's time for the Oppo player of the series, and you know who it is. It's DKG's Yo.
This guy, I mean, throughout game 1 and game 3 are the big performances from him, for sure. The Diana play was massive here. That game 3, I think that Yo's probably the reason that they won that fight. At the end of the day, like, it came down to the Diana, and also just multiple times throughout the series where he was finding these big plays.
Yeah, it was a big battle on the side lane between the Diana and the Akali throughout the game, also on the team fights. And Akali in particular, a long time ago, used to be a counter to the Diana, but that was many patches ago and many nerfs ago that it has fallen out of favor, and teams don't think it to be as strong as it used to be. But at the same time, it still was a really nice try from Isaac. But Yo, popping off, securing the win for his team, and it's that adaptation that they made in draft to switch the priorities and secure him the Diana early on that made the difference.
Yeah, huge victory there. Congrats to DKG going undefeated and moving on to the next round. Now, next up is Sengoku versus Team Secret. The Filipino team had a nice one yesterday against Queso. Don't believe me? Hear it from the team themselves in the Bose sounds of the game.
Sige, sir. Pwede ka pa dyan na, sir.
Start na?
Wala silang word.
Sige. Abang. Dito sila.
Ito, tara.
Tara. Pwede ko flashan yung Varus, Bert. Ito na lang. No flash.
Gogo na matay, oh.
Sige lang.
Basag ka lang, sir.
Sa akin. Nag-ulti ako, chupang gulo. Buhay pa ako.
Basag ka lang. Huwag ka sasunod.
Gogo, safe ng Graves.
Play slow,
Yung Graves 1 HP. Bert, okay ka lang?
Oo, okay lang. May flash pa ako.
Yung Graves 1 HP.
Pwede mo
Nag-record
ako
yung Graves.
Sige.
Nice one.
Patay pa tayo eh.
Nice one. Nice one! Nice one!
I woke up to the morning sky first. Baby blue, just like we rehearsed.
Okay, now, from the beginning.